Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Independent City Council for Monday, June 3rd, 2019. Our invocation this evening will be offered by Tim Allison, Bereavement Coordinator for Great Lakes Caring Hospice. Tim, are you here? Tim, are you here this evening? Councilman Robertson, may I call upon you to offer the invocation, please? If you would please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
O Lord, we look to you at the beginning of this Independent City Council meeting. Recognize you as the giver of life and the giver of all creation. We give thanks. We ask now that your good spirit may grace us here, that it may guide our discussions and decisions, that it may allow your good spirit to allow us to reason together, to come to understanding, and to do things that fulfill your purposes and honor you. We pray, Lord, that you may touch each one here, that they may realize that each person here is their neighbor, and each person is responsible for all. We pray, Lord, these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Council members Huff.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Doherty.
Here.
DeLucy. Here. Robertson.
Here.
Van Camp.
Here.
Mayor Ware.
Here. This takes us first to our citizens' request to speak to the council.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we suspend the rules to allow non-citizens to address the council this evening.
Okay, there is a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Council members Huff.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, motion passes.
Madam Mayor, second order. I notice there's a few rows that have reserve signs on them and no one's sitting in them and there's a lot of people standing up. I wonder if those people can't take seats.
We're gonna, I don't know who those were reserved for. I think staff was gonna move over there so they could open up some seats over here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I've got this evening a lady wants to give some comments on the animal shelter. It's Barb Beets. I don't know what order you're going to call that up, but I do have someone here.
She's in the stack.
She's in the staff.
Yeah.
Okay, she's in the
Yeah.
stack. Good. Okay, good, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, just fill in a little bit.
So the seats that are vacant, other people can now sit down.
Yeah, they can come up here and have a seat.
Thank you.
Okay, we did have a couple of people sign up in advance, so I will call them first. The first is Kirk Stobart, who requests to speak to the council regarding health insurance. Mr. Stobart.
Madam Mayor, I request, would you mind if we're moved to the bottom of the pile to speak this evening?
Sure.
And speak
wherever you
last?
want to be.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'll call you last.
Is that better?
I'm sorry, you're having a hard time hearing me. Is that better?
Asking him, is that better?
Our next,
Is that good enough? Can you hear now out there?
request is for Donna Jo Rimel, who requests to speak to council recurring retirement benefits.
Madam Mayor and Council, please let my wife speak in my place. I have lost my voice due to the Parkinson's that I contracted, and I'd appreciate it if you would allow her to do that.
Thank you.
As you're aware, this is his words, not, well, I guess they're probably mine too, but they're his. As you are aware, I very seldom address any council action. I've been unable to attend any of the informational meetings held by the city. Joe attended one presented by the Blue KC. The presenters were not always forthcoming with the answers to several questions. I'm concerned about the proposed change to the over 65 retirees health plan. In the 20 years that I was part of the approval of the Stay Well program and changes, I always voted to have the retirees receive the same plan as our current employees enjoyed. I felt that it was important to make sure the men and women who had risked their lives to protect our citizens and property felt confident that we were going to make sure they could serve with the understanding that we would in turn protect them and their families when they were injured or retired. These are the men and women of the police department that kept us safe, the firemen who risked their lives to protect our property, the linemen who worked in all kinds of bad weather to make sure we had utilities, the truck drivers who worked in snow and ice to make sure we could drive on our streets, the employees who worked behind the scenes to provide us with the many services we never think about. From what I understand, we are not standing by these employees when they can no longer change their life situation. In my opinion, they deserve our thanks and consideration. I feel like I have betrayed their trust and promised them something that can no longer be depended upon. I noticed in the paper that you have promised to have a committee to negotiate the medical plan that is outside of the current employees and under 65 retirees plan. I also understood that the city would no longer participate in contribution to the plan. Without any investment in the plan, how long will this plan be supported or negotiated by the administration? You have already eliminated the promised dental care for budget reasons, and this has already created a hardship. You may vote on this and have all the greatest intentions of taking care of retirees. With that, an affirmative vote, you are putting your reputation on the line just like we did. Your promise and your vote is only as valid as the integrity and the compassion of the next group of elected officials and city manager. I understand the budget problems with declining sales tax revenue. In fact, I was recently at an event with Larry Blick, and we discussed this very situation, and that we had faced some of the same choices. Instead of putting the balancing of the budget on the backs of those who are at our mercy, we always chose to find another way to keep our promise to our valued employees. You will be sending a message to the current employees and the under 65 that they too will be under the city truck when they are no longer viable. The experience of our friends who are in managed care plan has not always been good. One of the main problems is the approval of a rehab facility. One of our personal friends was only approved by their managed care to go to the very worst facility in Independence, one that was almost closed down. In 6 cases that our current home health physical therapist related, Blue KC would not recognize and pay the bills submitted. This company is one of the premier home health care providers in the city. We have checked with several persons that are on managed health care, and they are not impressed with the performance of Blue KC. The over 65 simply could not be putting the greatest burden on the Stay Well plan. For instance, of this bill that was $840.90, Stay Well paid $39.10 because Medicare paid the balance. This other bill, $549.90, $25.09 was paid by the Stay Well plan. Chances are very few of you will be on the retiree plan. Persons eligible for the plan will be getting less and less, and many of us will not be here too many additional years, especially if we have to go on managed care. Fewer employees will be qualifying for retirement since the years before they are vested has increased. If we need to contribute more to our premium, then everyone, current employees, under 65 and over 65, can contribute additional to keep the plan stable and not be a burden to the budget. I implore you not to make betrayers and liars out of us that went before you. Please be compassionate and show your integrity by not punishing your over 65 former employees for getting old and no longer useful. I know all of you and consider you to be my friends. I know you are better people than this.
Thank you, Mayor, for being here tonight, and thank you, Joe, for speaking. I appreciate that. Our next speaker is Henry Carner, who wishes to speak on retiree health post 65.
Henry Carner, 3731 South Milton Drive. Honorable Mayor and Council, I'm a 40-year veteran of the City of Independence, a retiree. On behalf of all of us retirees, please save our promised retirement benefits. In the 1960s, the Good Government League brought in reform government with the promise of stable work environment free from political vagaries. City employees were promised if they helped replace the patronage, corrupt machine form of government with a merit system and professional administration, they would be provided with health care and a pension as retirement benefits. The Reform Council fulfilled that promise in the late 60s by providing a pension plan and city-funded health care the same as active employees as the retirement benefit package. For 50 years, the city and all future councils have honored the promise. The city has never made a statement that they would stop these retirement benefits. We serve loyally, faithfully, and honorably with the understanding, acknowledged by the city for half a century, that the city health care plan, the same as active employees, is a promised retirement benefit. This is the unquestioned compact between us. We retirees submit a deal is a deal. Dumping our current health care plan and premium split would cause economic hardship on our retirees. We have a large number of widows on reduced pension that will be devastated by this cost shift and removal from the Stay-Well plan. These widows' husbands planned their retirement choices believing independence would protect their wives from loss of city-funded health care after they were gone. Independence retirees have been at peace with the city and really get involved in city issues. It's important to understand, at this point, the retirees do not want to fight with City Hall. We choose rather to approach you with sincere pleas for justice and fair play. You have the money to fund the current health care plan. The undesignated fund balance is one of many places the funds with funds to cover the retirees. The city has not declared bankruptcy. They have not declared inability to pay. We believe those supporting the decision to dump retirees do so based in whole or in part on a calculation that retirees are expendable and politically irrelevant. We suggest testing that assumption will undoubtedly prove costly to both sides, deliver a needless injury to veteran city employees, hurt the city's image, break an institutional promise, cause lasting ill will and negative energy against the city, and force us to hold those accountable for the damage caused to our families. A review of the long struggle, impact, and resolution of firing all electrical workers back in the late 70s can provide perspective on the current efforts to dump retirees for dollars. Please listen to our plea for the sake of the city. If the council inflicts this wound to our health care, we assure you KC Blue will not cure this injury. It will be you, not us, that forces open conflict by delivering the first strike. We will long remember those who do not vote to save our retirement benefit and will appropriately respond to the abuse of power to steal our earned health care plan when we need it most. In closing, your retirees pray you to protect the image of Harry S. Truman's hometown and honor the promise made to us by not removing this historical, institutionalized past practice of maintaining a retirement benefit of city-provided health care the same as active employees. Specifically, please amend the proposed budget to reinstate post-65 retirees' health care as currently provided. Please save our promised retirement benefits.
Our next speaker is Joe Blanco, who wishes to speak on post-65 retirees represented by CWA 6360.
Madam Mayor, City Council, thank you for the privilege to talk. I wanted to let you know that I am the president of Local 6360, Communication Workers of America. I have had the honor of representing the Independence 911 dispatchers that dispatch your fire and police. We have had several meetings with the coalition, of which I'm a proud member of. Then the coalition has several meetings with you, Madam Mayor, and the City Council, the City Manager. I believe headway has been made and that progress is appreciated. But, and yes, there's always a but, you still seem to sacrifice the ones that have given the most for this city, the ones that have given up two of our most precious commodities, family and time. My message to you is simple. Do not balance the budget on the backs of your retirees. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Lucy Young, who wishes to speak on Bill 19-031. Mrs. Young.
Thank you. At the end of the meeting, last council meeting, there were some questions about Bill 19-031, and I wanted to clear the air. All AMI systems contain AMR functionality, but AMR systems are not AMI. AMR systems are for collection and only without a means for broadcasting. AMR is typically read once a month, but still causes dirty electricity, which is also known as voltage transients, line noise, or power quality issues. AMR transmit data using a one-way radio frequency similar to a garage door opener. The signal is picked up by a collector inside the meter reader's vehicle. AMI smart meters is a two-way meter. Spire Gas is under the control of the Public Service Commission. The City of Independence controls our utilities, including our electric, water, and sewer. You are Independence's PSC. You must balance the interest of the utilities and the consumer. You are the regulatory body that must institute just and reasonable rates. The U.S. Supreme Court has held a hearing as follows. The return should be reasonably sufficient to assure confidence in the financial soundness of the utility and should be adequate, efficient, and economical management to maintain and support its credit. In other words, you need to make sure that it is fiscally sound. This contract is not economical, as the documents that were produced showed that the total cost of AMI in 15 years was $51 million. The last PUAB meeting, and presented to you here, Mr. Young from Burns McDonnell showed the AMI cost savings in his PowerPoint at 10 years as $5 million, 15 years as $25 million, for a combined total of $30 million. This doesn't even cover the core and main contract. With a 15% overrun, the cost of the contract alone is $34.5 million. I am requesting that you balance the interest of the utilities and the ratepayer. Over 5,000 citizens signed the petition to say no to AMI smart meters. And I am asking you to rescind the core and main contract. I'm asking all of you to listen to the people of Independence and vote to rescind this contract and prohibit the city from installing AMI meters. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Robert Sorenson, who wishes to speak on retiree health care. Mr. Sorenson.
Thanks, Bob.
Here, I'll pass them on. Thanks.
Madam Mayor, Council, I appreciate you allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Bob Sorenson. I was a police officer in Independence from 1973 to 2009. During that time, I was president of the FOP numerous years. I'm here to speak in regards to health insurance changes to the 65 and over retirees. The proposed changes, whether they are legal or not, is a question that might need to be answered at a future date. I am hoping that does not need to occur. I am hoping that you, the council and mayor, choose to do what is right and not proceed with these changes. This should be a question of right and wrong. To start, I think looking at the history of our health care program as it relates to a retired employee. In 1973, I was hired by the City of Independence. I was told my pay was $739 a month and my benefit package. I was told that the city provided me health insurance, and that insurance was a benefit I would receive while employed. I was also told that the health insurance would be provided after retirement. At no time from that day in 1973 until I retired in 2009 was I ever told that my health insurance benefit could be taken away. During my 35 years, the city agreed to pay 83% of my health insurance, and I paid 17%. During the years I was FOP president, I was involved in negotiations with the city. During those negotiations, the cost of our benefits was always taken into consideration and had a direct impact on our salaries. I at no time disagreed with this because I understood that the benefits were a cost to the city and had a direct impact on my salary. Given this, it shows that we, the employees, did pay for our health care benefits. Also, during my time I was employed, the city 2 or 3 times had a moratorium on paying the Stay Well health care program. During those times, the city and employees did not contribute to the plan. If the city had not done this, which the Stay Well Committee was against, we would probably not be looking at increases at this time. In 2009, the employee groups agreed to change percentages for their health care to 80% city, 20% employee. This change was to offset the cost of a better retirement plan. At that time, the city also proposed raising the percentage to 80% for those of us that had retired prior to the retirement plan. I, at that time, went to the council and mayor and stated that it was unfair for those retirees to have to pay for a benefit that they were not pay for a benefit that they were not receiving. The city agreed with me, and the pre-2009 retirees were left at 17%. Again, in 2018, the city attempted to raise the pre-2009 retirees to 20% again. I came before you all as a council and spoke again, telling how this was unfair, that we didn't need to pay for a benefit we didn't receive. Again, the council agreed with me, and our costs were left at 17%. The paper I passed out to you is my retiree health insurance plan that I signed in December 4th of 2008, and my official retirement date was February 1st of 2009. That is a form provided by the city to me when I was retiring. It states on there that I would continue to have health insurance as a retired employee. It told what my responsibilities were to continue to have that insurance, which I met all those responsibilities. It stated on there that it was the Stay Well insurance, that was the same insurance that was covered by the employees. The important part I find on that form is if you go down under the top part, at the very bottom before the signatures, it says, there's a box that says, I do not wish to continue my health insurance upon my retirement. I did not check that box. Below it, it says to cancel this coverage, you, which means me, would have to complete a cancellation form. I've never completed a cancellation form and never intend to. do it. So that document that was provided by the city and signed by the city and me states I have health insurance upon retirement. The city also had my health insurance set up through loggers to receive direct payment. In order to insure my wife, in order to ensure my wife would have the health insurance, I was required to take a substantial reduction in my logger's payment. I had to take the substantial reduction in order to guarantee her a part of my retirement if I died, plus she had to be on loggers in order to have the health insurance. So I willingly at that time took the deduction to guarantee my wife those benefits, which it appears you're trying to take away. As I stated earlier, this does not need to become a legal issue. It needs to be an issue of what is right, both morally and legally. It is a fact that this benefit was promised to all employees, both current and retired. It was used as a cost by the city in negotiations. It was paid for by employees during their years of service with the city. At no time in my 46 years of dealing with the city has retired employees' benefits been attacked. These dedicated employees that are retired are on fixed incomes and should be treated fairly. The city now and in the future should honor their promises to their employees. I do believe I represent the majority, if not all the employees in regards to this issue. The proposal does not only affect the retired employees, as the city manager has suggested, but all employees of the City of Independence. Based upon the charts provided by the city manager, I estimate that the proposal affects 1,872 active and retired employees, approximately 2,604 dependents, which makes a total of 4,476 individuals. I asked the city to follow their Stay-Well Committee recommendation of the 8% increase to the Stay-Well Health Insurance for all the members that are in the plan. The Stay-Well Committee has said the plan is fine, and the adjustments in premiums is all it needs to be done to keep it healthy. To conclude, I stand before you today to ask you to do what is right. I ask you to honor your promises and past practices. Do not try and balance the budget by attacking benefits of retired employees on fixed incomes. The city is not filing for bankruptcy. The money is there. It's just a matter of where it is spent. This is a bill that the city is obligated to pay. Vote today to amend the proposed budget and leave the current and retired employees' health insurance alone. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chris Roars, who wishes to speak on Stay-Well Health Care for retirees. Mr. Roars.
Get this down here right good. Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I'm not going to talk numbers with you. I've had so many numbers running around in my head and coming out of my mouth that I think in binary now. And if I were to do that, I'd start doing binary, and unless you understand that, you wouldn't have any idea what I was saying. The numbers, we've all been over those. What I'm here today is to talk about the promise that we expect to be kept. We're not asking for more. We're not asking for an increase. We're not asking for anything any different. We're just asking for what we had been promised. There is only one gentleman up here that I know that was part of that promise, that he got promised the same thing. Y'all are way too young, or we're not working for the city. But how many of us out here, how long have we been here? Long time. We were promised. We know that promise. Can the new people understand that promise? No. They weren't here to hear it. They weren't here to experience it. It's been brought to your attention how many times people made their decisions on their retirement based on that promise. Bob just explained how he got his wife on the insurance, and he took a big hit on his retirement, on his loggers, in order to do that. But it was a good payout for him. Many years we took no pay increases. We operated or worked for less pay than in the surrounding communities. We had a good pay package. Why do you think we had so many people coming to Independence to become part of it? We had to make an adjustment several years ago to say, if you haven't been here at least 20 years, I believe, I may be mistaken on this, you don't get it. Because we had people coming in, invested in 5 years, and walking off with a huge benefit. We had to stop that. So that tells you that we weren't known for our high wages. We were known for our benefits. And that's what we worked for. All I'm asking you all to do is to keep going with what you have said. And I say you all, it's implied because of the position that you're in. But who past council members, past mayors, they have made the same promise. We heard from a mayor. We're still willing to listen. I think a tremendous injustice was done in the way that this was all brought about. I felt very insulted. The committee that I've sat on, I was on the first day it ever formed, and I'm on it today. And we have done an excellent job for the city and for the plan members. And we have not just looked at what's good for the employees. We've looked at what's good for the city, what's good for the plan, what's good for the employees. We've looked at the whole big picture, and we've made changes in all those areas. Sometimes the employees lost benefits. Sometimes the employees had to pay a bigger premium increase. Sometimes we had none. But we did that. Our committee overlooked it. In fact, up until Zach, and even Zach has been a lot of hands off with what the committee does. Excuse me. Our previous city manager was the same way. He didn't want to do it. He wanted us to do it, and we did it. And I think our track record proves we can do it, and that we do a good job at it. If what we consider to be damaging, what has caused all these people to come with these signs, and if that can be stopped, and I mean stopped, everything else has been stopped. The only ones now that are being damaged are the post-65s. And if you can stop that, I will personally guarantee you my efforts to be able to come up with a plan that will be satisfactory to both the city's needs and what our employees' needs are. But I had a lot of trust. I had a lot of trust sitting over here. Really did. Lost it here a few weeks ago. If we want to start again, start with that trust, and let's build it. Let's be transparent. Let's be cooperative. Let's work towards the same goal. Stop what's going on right now, and then put us in a position where we can sit as a committee and come up with a solution. That's what we want. We're not here to have this fight. This is the soft part, and we don't even really want it. These people would probably rather be home watching some sitcom. I would. But we have to be here because we have to protect what is so vitally important to this group. These people are on fixed incomes. These people, some have retirement benefits that bring them in under poverty level. Okay? And they're still trying to make ends meet. And they're trying to buy their medicine. They're trying to buy hamburger instead of puppy chow. Honest to God. We've got people that are living in their cars. What are we going to do? Are we going to be honorable people? Are we going to do what we said we were? Are we going to work together as a team and try and find a solution to this without shoving it down somebody's throat? Or are we going to go down in history as what I think is biblically sinful? That's all I've got. I'm always available. Many of you, if not all of you, have my phone number. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Ron Marita, who wishes to speak on healthcare changes. Ron?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I appreciate the opportunity to address you. I wrote a letter tonight, so I'm just going to read it to you. I'm a retired city employee. I've spent over 37 and a half years with the Power and Light. I was a lineman foreman for near 30 of that. I was the president of the Glendale neighborhood, whose organization raised over $300,000 for the Glendale Park and helped sponsor the park tax and independence. I campaigned heavily for and voted for most of you. But I'm not here tonight to admit my faults. I have concerns. When I see the article on the shelter and its shortcomings, I ask myself, how are they going to pay for this? The answer the city gives is a use tax. However, that was unanimously voted down once already by 61%, I believe. So let's dump retirees off the health care. That too, I think, is a bad idea. The Stay Well plan is solvent. It actually builds money that you in the past have borrowed. Removing these retirees will hurt that plan, and it will no longer become lucrative. Therefore, you will be forced to attack current employees' premiums and deductibles next. This Blue KC plan you are not offering but shoving down our throats is a fecal policy. I did some calling to the very people you are negotiating with, and as it turns out, there is nothing etched in stone. You are still in negotiations and have nothing to solidly offer. We are forced to trust you like we did when you promised we would have the city's insurance when we retired. This is the second year in a row you've tried this. What next year? Many doctors won't carry this policy. They say it's crap. When you reach 65, Social Security deducts approximately $135 a month from your benefit. You now have a lower fixed income and higher premiums and deductives to pay. Also, this plan takes over your Medicare, and you now do not have a supplementary insurance. With that being said, you are at the mercy of this plan. If your spouse is not yet 65, you also keep them on Stay Well, now paying for two policies. If you die, is your spouse still insurable? I was told it depends on your policy. There's no dental, no vision available. Maybe it's available, but at what cost? Again, we are negotiating and don't have any solid answers. You know, pets give lifelong affection to their owners, and they only ask for responsible owners. You as our owners, as we gave the same things to this city, are now asked to be responsible. Please don't abandon us, because we don't have a no-care shelter either.
Our next speaker is Mike Johanns, who wishes to speak on retiree health care.
How you doing? My name's Mike Johanns. I'm a retired police officer from the city here. I originally signed up because I wasn't sure that Bob Sorenson was going to get to talk, so I want to thank you. I was going to read his speech for him, but I want to thank you for making the motion, Karen, and council voting to allow him to speak. That was very generous of you all, and I appreciate it. But I do still have a few words I'd like to say. First of all, I want to thank Mayor Rimel. You are a man of your word. I appreciate a man of his word, a man of integrity. And I used to work security up here for him when he was sitting there in your seat, Mayor. And I appreciate you and your word. It means a lot to not just me, but all the retirees and all the employees. It means a lot to us. I appreciate it. And speaking of word, you know, when I was growing up, you know, you was known by your word. You know, I was taught that as a child. You know, a person's known by their word. You know, and I taught my children that as they grew up, that you're, you know, that's your integrity. That makes you, you know. And to me, the city is like an entity, and they should be known for their word. And if you go back on your word, you're forever going to be known as a person or as a council with no integrity. And I don't think you all want to be stuck with that title, because you've heard everybody speak. This has been promised way before I was even hired. And like Mr. Sorenson said, when you retire, you have to go sign a form to put your spouse on there. And I don't want this council to be saddled with a bad decision, because if you make a bad decision tonight, this is going to, more than likely, as you well know, end up in litigation. And we don't need any more bad decisions. There's been enough bad decisions from Bass Pro to, the And I don't want this council to be known as that council that made one bad decision and future generations have to pay for it. Because there's been a past council that, a bad decision was made that we're still paying for. And like I said, your word, you're only as good as your word. And, look yourselves in the mirror, because you're only as good as your word. And if you go back on your word, you're going to lose everybody's respect. And I think most of you are better than that. I really do. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say, is just letting you know that this has been promised and that you're only as good as your word. So I hope you amend this budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Kenneth Love, who wishes to speak on water construction on Highway 78. Mr. Love.
Thank y'all for being here. Union brothers, union sisters, citizens of Independence. Madam Mayor, I am here wearing a shirt, and I hope everybody really understands what it means. If you're a union worker, you know what it means. I witnessed this morning 3 people that almost got hit because city council, city manager, or whoever is giving union employees work away to a scab outfit. Closing the sidewalks. Citizens have no place to walk. They have to walk in the street. I had to waste 2 IPD officers' time this morning because of my tenant that lives in this property could not exit the driveway on the Highway 78 or 23rd Street. She's pregnant. She was trying to get to the hospital. Who do you call? 911? 911 can't even get in there. The 2 officers that responded to the call had to park in Starbucks parking lot. I asked the contractor, who does he work for? Who do I call about a problem? You talk to me, sir. No, you're working in the city of Independence. Who gave you this job? That's none of my business. But when you sit there and watch 3 people, 2 in a wheelchair that almost got hit, and 1 that on a bicycle, because they're closing sidewalks on the north side and the south side of 23rd Street, forcing people to have to get in a highway, right in the public's way of a driver. Me as a professional driver that drives a semi-truck for a living, that's a little bit bigger and a little bit wider than a normal car. I would have hit one of them. Not on purpose, because I would have had nowhere to go. That's sad that we're allowing a scab outfit to take work from union workers, our water department, that is carrying on not 1 week, not 2 weeks, not 3 weeks, for 3 months already it's been going on. They dig a hole and they put an orange cone around it. They dig another hole, they put another orange cone in it. Now you got sidewalks closed. Yes, I am upset when you sit there and witness somebody almost get hit. Is that what it's going to take for somebody on 23rd Street to get hit, killed, for this city council or our union companies to get our work back in this city? Because if our union guys had that work in the water department, I guarantee you it would not be tore up the way it is, or the sidewalks wouldn't be closed the way they are. Oh, wait a minute, we just dig a big hole here, put an orange thing around it, move 50 feet down the road, dig another hole. This project's been going on way too long. Yes, I came here. I talked to the Public Works Department here, and I understand Public Works is not tied in with the water company. They're two different outfits. Problem is, somebody should know what's going on. A citizen should be able to file a complaint right then so that somebody goes out and makes sure nobody gets killed. Not just a telephone call. And the police say, we can't do nothing, Mr. Love. I'm sorry, we can't do nothing. But there's one thing I will promise you, they will not block that driveway no more. So, again, I'm sorry that I'm upset and mad because I didn't come here to be angry. I came here to support these workers, these people that took jobs because they were guaranteed benefits for the rest of their life. It doesn't matter if it's a police officer, firefighter, union worker. We look for benefits in life. That way when we retire, we can take care of our families. We don't have to depend on other things. And it's a shame. It is a shame. There is my sign. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chad McGregor, who wishes to speak on health insurance and the proposed budget. Mr. McGregor.
Madam Mayor, City Council, my name is Chad McGregor. I'm a former 15-year employee with the city. I now hold the position of business representative with IBW Local 53. We represent approximately 300 employees in the city and hundreds of former employees and their dependents. I'm here to ask you to do what is morally right and to not allow any of the proposed health insurance changes to take place, with the exception of the recommended 8% premium increase. These current and former employees have dedicated themselves to the city many times for reductions and less money in order to keep their good benefits that were earned and promised to them throughout their careers. Please think about this. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mark McDonald, who wishes to speak on Prop P. Mr. McDonald.
Madam Mayor, City Council, what a group to show up after. I apologize that I'm up here speaking and not speaking about health benefits, but I do appreciate your passion that you bring to the meeting. I hope that we can do this more often and on a more positive note for the betterment of the city. And that's hopefully what we're going to be presenting tonight. I'm here to endorse Proposition P. We've talked about Proposition P. We've had folks come up and say Proposition P is, we can't support it. Well, the real reason why you're here is the stressors on the general fund. Proposition P will help to reduce the stress on the general fund for two things that the city has promised, that I think they've signed into an agreement. One is with the animal shelter, and also a commitment from the city's citizen survey for more police officers. That's the two things. I am the treasurer for Proposition P. Before I would sign up to be a part of this, I asked for two things. One, transparency, and also a commitment for oversight, so that the issue of trust would not become an issue. I have a commitment from the committee that we will have both, and that's really all I'm here to talk about. One, there's a clear focus for Proposition P. In the past, we've said, just trust us and you can just give us the money to the general fund. We'll spend it how we believe is the best way to spend it. This time, we're going for two things. One is the animal shelter, which many people read in the newspaper was not necessarily the most accurate, but I see it as a very positive thing for taking control of the animal shelter, for a no-kill animal shelter. And two, for the police department. Right now, what we're planning is for it to be a 50-50 split. 50% of the Proposition P would go towards the animal shelter, and the other 50% would go directly to make sure that we hire more police officers that we truly need. I think everyone in this room would agree we need more police officers, right? This is where you all say, yay! Try it. Would you try it anyway? I won't ask for a standing ovation after I'm done, but if you want to, that'd be great too. There's going to be an oversight committee for both. The oversight committee for the animal shelter. I apologize not speaking to you folks. I've already sold you. I want to sell these folks. They're the ones that have the vote. We love you. The animal control will be under the oversight of the Animal Welfare Committee. Those funds, making sure that they come in and are used properly. And the police fund that comes to them will be used by the Public Safety Sales Tax Committee, just like we've used in the past. We've been very successful with several other sales tax initiatives. This will be the same. The big thing that we're trying to do is to eliminate the need to go into the till for the general fund and making it tougher and tougher to meet your needs in many cases. The key to Proposition P, and I'll make this short, the key to Proposition P is not that we want more money. It's to create another revenue stream so that we don't have to keep going to the till and saying we need to stretch and stretch and stretch the general fund. Hopefully we won't have this issue next year, but if we can do something to prevent it in the future, I'm all for it. I think you folks would be all for it too. Our whole focus here is taking care of the animals and taking care of more police officers for our street. I want to be known, and I know that there's an initiative, make us the greenest city in the country. I want us to be the safest city in the country. So with that, I just want to say, for me, the answer is passage of Proposition P. Thank you all so much for your time and consideration. Oh, one other thing, real quick. Whoa, real quick.
First, dogs second.
I hate to have to say this again, but when the speaker is up here speaking, I would really appreciate if everybody would please be quiet and so the council can hear what they're saying. You've all got your chance to speak. We're happy to hear from you, but please respect the speaker and do not shout out or make comments while the speaker is speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. The other issue is the city scene. This came out today, I think, on Facebook page for Independent. It has an excellent article. Thank you, Councilman Orberson. He dedicated his corner for Proposition P. It talks about what Proposition P, it gives the details on how it's going to be utilized. It's an excellent thing, and thank you for taking the time to do that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Barb Beets, who wishes to speak on retiree insurance and use tax.
Thank you, City Council and Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I'm speaking tonight because my husband is a city employee retiree. He was there for 44 years. We are losing our insurance as well. But I also want to speak about Prop P because I am in both arenas. I volunteer at the shelter and have for years. Prop P, if you really look at the numbers, it is minimal cost. If you order copious amounts of stuff online, then it might cost you. Otherwise, the cost is negligible. We can judge a city and its citizens a lot of times, and the council, by how they treat their older people and their animals. I don't know how I am going to go canvass people to ask them to vote for Prop P when I'm getting my insurance taken away from me. Do I want it? Absolutely. I think those animals deserve it. They are there because of human failure. Not their own fault, their failure. It might be your aunt's dog, your grandma's dog, your wife's dog if you have to put her in a nursing home. There are animals there that deserve better care. There is also added police needed. There are areas of Independence that I would not even live in. I wouldn't even visit. I wouldn't even drive through. We need a strong police presence. If it is clear, if it is if it is monitored by a citizens committee, that, again, the cost is so nominal on Prop P. If you really look at the numbers, it's very little cost to each citizen, very little. But I'm going to promote it even though I'm losing my insurance because it's not that great of a cost. I don't know how I'm going to tell other people whose father, mother, sister, brother, aunt, uncle are losing their insurance, including myself. I don't know how I'm going to promote it. I don't know that I can. I will probably get booed. I will probably get tossed off a lot of front porches. But I'm going to canvass for it. If there is transparency, I absolutely will support it. But I am losing my insurance just like everybody else in here. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I know that I think our animals, I think our police presence needs to be expanded. So that's it. That's all I've got, guys. So I'm on both sides of the fence. I'm losing my insurance, but yes, I do want more police and I do want to take care of the animals. So I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last speaker this evening is Kirk Stobart. Mr. Stobart.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, my name is Kirk Stobart, and I'm president of the Professional Firefighters of Independence, Local 781. First off, I would like to at least offer a little bit of appreciation to the city manager for hearing our concerns and making the changes that he did to our Stay-Well plan. However, there are two major concerns that still need to be addressed. First off, a concern is, I believe you have these amendments in your packets this week. The one I want to talk about is the one that places new hires under a different set of benefit costs than the current employees. Segregating a select group of employees is just bad for business. I don't think we should be doing that at all. One of my primary jobs is to ensure that all of our members are treated fairly and equally, and this amendment is in direct opposition to that. This can easily be removed from the budget since it will have no immediate financial impact to the upcoming budget year, and it's something we can discuss at a later date. Our second concern has to do with our 65 and older retirees, obviously. You have heard their concerns and complaints with what you're doing to their career long-earned benefit, and IFF Local 781 and the Coalition of Bargaining Agents stand by their position. These are not just former union retirees. I want to make that clear. Many of these people have sat in your seats. They've sat in our director's seats. And I can assure you, if we're all here together, there's a serious problem going on here. So some of the facts or some of the things that I want to talk about now are some of the things that may have led up to this. Our Stay-Well Committee, I think it was stated earlier, they were not involved with the original proposed changes. The city manager and staff came up with these ideas. This is why we have a Stay-Well Healthcare Committee. It is made up of a diverse group of employee and retiree representatives to manage the fund. I'm confident that all of this could have been avoided with the committee's involvement. They've done an outstanding job of managing that fund. It's currently healthy. Historically, each time, ironically, the Stay-Well Fund has had financial problems, it was a result of the city manager making decisions without the committee's involvement or without their recommendation. One of the things that pops up on here, besides the issues I've talked about, is the $1,000 contribution to the HSA, the Health Savings Account. This money is going to be paid out from the Stay-Well Fund, which we all put into. It's not new money. We were trying to get numbers from and make sure that this is something that our Stay-Well Fund can support. We're very concerned about obviously the financial health with that and several other the proposals have been thrown up, and our committee has had no time to review this. Stay-Well is a healthcare benefit program. This is kind of an educational piece for a lot of our new department heads and directors over here that I've found myself with more years in service than many of them combined. Stay-Well is a healthcare benefit program funded with an 80% contribution from the city and a 20% contribution from the employee. When these contributions are made to the fund, it's no longer the city's money. That fund belongs to all of us, our retirees, our current employees, you, anybody who's on that plan. It is a group benefit for anybody that qualifies for it. So Mr. Carner talked a little bit about the personnel board. I want to make sure you all are clear on the language of that he was referring to. Proposed amendments, which obviously this healthcare changes, any healthcare changes are covered in our personnel policy procedures. Proposed amendments will be posted. Personnel board hearing will take place. The personnel board will make their recommendation, and then it will be presented to the council for a vote, not the other way around, and this seems to be the other way around. City council goals, just to talk a little bit about the upcoming budget. This is not just a line item, in my opinion. The council goals include the entire budget. The money you budget for animal shelters, street sweepers, new signs like the one up there behind you, those are all council goals. The budget is simply a matter of prioritizing what you want to spend the money on. The city manager, finally, the city manager answers to you, our 7 elected representatives. His job is to present a balanced budget with your priorities. You 7 individuals have the ability to make these people a priority. I'm asking you to use the $7.6 million in the unassigned fund balance, put our Stay Well plan back together, let our Stay Well committee do their job, and make everybody in this room a priority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for being here tonight and for speaking. We're going to move on with our agenda. Our next item is the presentation resolution for Employee of the Month. Madam City Clerk.
Whereas the City Employee Recognition Program recognizes outstanding performance by employees of the City of Independence, and whereas an employee committee selects the Employee of the Month for exhibiting the qualities and ideals that best represent public service, and whereas the Employee Recognition Committee has selected Doug Haddon, SCADA EMS Supervisor, and the Power and Light Department as the Employee of the Month, June 2019. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Independence, Missouri as follows: that the City Council of the City of Independence, Missouri joins in recognizing Doug Haddon as the City of Independence Employee of the Month for June 2019.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Doherty?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Robertson?
Yes.
Van Camp?
Yes.
Mayor Weir?
Yes. Doug, are you here this evening? There's a lot of people. Yes, okay. Doug Hayden has been with the City of Independence at Power and Light for 6 years, currently as SCADA EMS Supervisor. Doug says what he likes most about his job is working with a group of skilled and experienced people who care for one another and are passionate about providing safe, reliable, and economical electrical power to the City of Independence. Doug says career goals would include continued learning and skill development to better serve the city and to help coworkers and other city employees in their roles. The most valuable lesson Doug says he has learned in his career is to listen to others and be teachable, focus on the core mission, and tackle the highest priority tasks first. A typical day for Doug includes working with staff to keep our city's electric system operations technology reliable and secure now and in the future. Doug says he is grateful to have lived in Independence for over 30 years. Though through the past history of our city has many unique and proud moments, the richness of our community today is best measured by the predominant character of its people: honest, kind, and hardworking. In addition to time spent with relatives and friends, Doug says he enjoys the simple experience of just being outdoors in nature. Please join me in recognizing Doug Haddon as the June 2019 Employee of the Month. Okay, we have two presentation resolutions this evening. Or I'm sorry, two proclamations this evening. The first is for World Elder Abuse Day. Madam City Clerk.
Whereas in 2006, the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse in support of the United Nations International Plan of Action proclaimed a day to recognize the significance of elder abuse as a public health and human rights issue. And whereas June 15th, 2019 marks the 13th annual World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Its recognition promotes a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older adults. And whereas the National Center on Elder Abuse and the City of Independence recognize the importance of taking action to raise awareness and prevent elder abuse. And whereas our population lives longer, we are presented with an opportunity to think about our collective needs and future as a nation and the city. And whereas the City of Independence strives to safeguard and encourage older adults as our population lives longer, we are presented with an opportunity to think about our collective needs and future. And whereas recognizing it is up to all of us to ensure that proper social structures exist so people can retain community and societal connections, reducing the likelihood of abuse. And whereas preventing abuse of older adults through maintaining and improving social supports like senior centers, human services, and transportation will allow everyone to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the life and vibrancy of our communities. Now Eileen N. Weir, Mayor of the City of Independence, hereby proclaims June 15th, 2019 as World Elder Abuse Day. Yeah, Tom.
Tom Scannell, if you'd please come forward and accept this proclamation. Okay, our next proclamation is for National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Madam City Clerk.
Whereas every day 100 Americans are likely killed by gun violence, and on average there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year, and Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other developed countries. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people. And whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And whereas in January 2013, Hadiah Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade, was tragically shot and killed just weeks later, should now be celebrating her 22nd birthday. And whereas to help honor Hadiah and the 100 Americans whose lives are cut short and countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 7th, 2019, the first Friday in June, as the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadiah's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is the color that symbolizes the value of human life. Whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday in June 2019, to help raise awareness about gun violence. Now therefore, Eileen N. Weir, Mayor of the City of Independence, hereby proclaims Friday, June 7th, 2019 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Thank you. And Deborah Powell is here to accept this proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor Weir. This is a way that we can raise awareness of the problem of gun violence in our community and in this country. And when we raise awareness of a problem, then that will open up more discussion, and we can all work together to find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this takes us to our consent agenda. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Weir, I move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items any council member wishes pulled for separate consideration? Councilman Doherty.
Number 4.
this on. Number 4, are there any others?
Madam Mayor,
I'm sorry. Yes?
19750, 751, and 752.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other items? Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda minus item number 4 and resolutions 19750, 19751, and 19752?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Councilman Doherty, item number 4.
This came up, and as I remember, and I don't care either way here, but we have been turning down a guy here in town that used to have a trash service because I thought we had these capped. Well, I guess they finally found the paperwork. They're not really capped, but yet they are. And what it is we've got it where there'll be one collection vehicle for every 1,500 residents. And what that would be, we currently have 96 trash trucks. And it would, according to this, with the households, we'd be way over on this by 2.5 times. And the idea behind this was if there were, we have 7 haulers, it would be 8. Let's say there were 20 haulers, you could have a different truck every day on your street picking up trash. And the whole idea was to restrict how many of these big trucks were on the streets on a daily basis. That's why they had it this way. So in the past, we have always tried to keep this cap. So right now, this would exceed it by 2.6 times over what it is now. The number of trash trucks would be 98, and the ratio would be 1 to 549. So what it is we're way over on this. So if we open this up, then we'll have to open it up to anybody that comes in and does this. As it is, we all know Mr. Wagner comes in, and we turn him down since 2012 on this criteria. So why don't we follow that is my question. Could someone from the staff, if they got any information? I thought this was capped.
I'll ask Tom Scannell from Community Development, who oversees this, to provide you a little more information.
Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Or Ms. Egger.
Or
Surprise.
I'm going to disguise myself as Tom now. Good evening, Council, Mayor, Diane Egger, Assistant Director, 23-year city employee with the city. So yeah, what Kurt is saying is right. There is no cap in the actual ordinance. There's no cap on the amount of trucks. There's some guidance that we could provide, which is what it says. The 1,500 is basically what it's saying is a good minimum. So we surpass that. But our job, community development, so we accept the application, we accept the background check. Once we do those items, then it goes to the city council for approval.
So they meet all the requirements, except this far and exceeds the amount of trucks that we set as a basis to put on the street.
Correct, yes.
But other than that, they met the licensing requirement, which is
Right.
anyone who would apply probably would.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
That's it.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for approval, but I'm not sure I want to approve it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins,
No.
Doherty,
No.
DeLucy,
No.
Robertson,
No.
Van Camp,
No.
Mayor Ware.
No. Item number 4 fails. Councilmember DeLucy, Resolution 19750.
This is a resolution asking the city manager to develop a municipal facility electric rate, authorizing a credit for municipal utilities to the tune of $666,000 for this coming fiscal year, and to adopt a new rate structure. I know that our rate, we've not discussed it yet, so I don't know where this number comes from. I don't know what the credit is based on, and I'm wondering why are we doing it now as opposed to making it part of the overall rate structure?
Thank you, Councilwoman. The proposal in front of you tonight would direct us, just like when the council passed several months ago, a resolution directing us to work on a special rate for low-income households, which there was definitions around that time, you may recall. This would be another category for which we would be directed to work to develop rate classification as part of the rate study that is happening. There are a number of different, what we call riders, economic development riders. So some of the large industrial users in the community are receiving those. The city presently is not. So this would codify a special, or direct us to go work on that and give us the credit now, primarily to assist us in developing it right now, but also make it effective now in anticipation of the upcoming budget year, so that we can budget for and accurately collect. The city can remit, the general fund can remit to the Power and Light Fund the amount that is appropriate for the upcoming rate.
You mean the electric rate would give the general fund a credit back?
Not just the general fund. I know I specifically called that one out, but there are utilities billed to several of the sales tax funds. So for example, if you think about our public safety facilities, some of those bear a portion of electric utility costs. So the general fund would, because it has the largest number of city facilities billed to it, would be one that stands to benefit the most, but multiple different city funds would benefit from this change.
Where's the PUAB involved in looking at our rate structure?
This will need to eventually go to them as part of the overall rate structure before it comes back to the council. So just as with that low-income household rate that we've previously adopted, this would need to be incorporated into that final proposal, reviewed by the PUAB, and a final recommendation brought to the council.
So this is not, we're not putting this into effect now?
I don't want to confuse you. There are two different things happening here.
Okay.
It is directing us to go and develop that rate, but in anticipation of what we believe that proposal will include, building that credit in to take effect with the beginning of the July 1 fiscal year.
So when is the PUAB going to be looking at the rate structure?
I would need to ask our IPL general manager exactly the timeline on that. I don't know specifically what date we have calendared for that. That'll be this summer sometime.
Are we looking at doing any other piecemeal work on the utility rates at this point?
The only other change that I am under direction of the council right now to bring to you the financial amendments as a result of the 4% rate decrease, but there are no other changes anticipated at this time, no.
Okay, thank you. Move approval of 19,750.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes. Councilman?
to carry along the councilwoman's questions and comments, so this will be remanded back to, if this is approved, will be remanded back to the PAB for review, look at, kick back to us for final approval?
There's going to be a holistic rate package brought to the council. So if you'll recall, a couple weeks ago, I think it was Councilmember Huff and the mayor who specifically said, where is the proposal to reduce the number of classifications? Right now we have 21. That is all going to be in that holistic package that comes to the council later this summer.
So the effective July 1st, 2020 date, so the fiscal impact that I'm looking at here in these numbers, will that take an effect as of July 1? What if?
That is a one-time credit. If that is not ultimately approved by the council, then the city would have to remit that back.
So you're just anticipating a future approval?
Yeah,
from this
budget,
council?
I mean, our budget is truly a plan. We do our best to anticipate what's going to happen, and then you get 16 winter snowstorms. So this is a plan of where we want to go with this. If it's ultimately rejected by the council, then we would have to go in across those city funds and identify $666,000, isn't that an ominous number, to remit back to the electric utility fund.
So we could be amending this budget again then?
Yeah, but we do, I mean, right now, twice a year, we're bringing budget amendments to the council. based on unforeseen events. That is why we do have a fund balance that we're trying to get to of 16%, presently sits at 9%, because there are a lot of unanticipated issues that come up over the course of a 12-month year.
Sure, great, thank you.
Any further discussion? Yes.
So this is going to go into effect July 1st without PUAB?
The one-time credit would, but it's tentative until that comes back for final approval by the council.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Do we need to do this tonight?
It would be helpful to me so that we can start to at least put some sort of foundation around our adopted budget. If the council doesn't want to do that, then over the next 2 weeks, I need to go eliminate another $666,000 of spending from the proposed budget.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins,
Pass.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes. Councilmember DeLucy, 19751.
This is a resolution asking the city manager to amend the personnel policies and procedures to include post-retirement benefits for the Medicare-eligible employees. And the fiscal impact of this resolution is $150,000 to $200,000 annually. I don't know what that number is representing. I don't know who gets paid that number. Could you please explain this to me?
Yeah, there's a couple things going on here, and let me begin by saying two of our speakers tonight articulated very well that this is an issue that does need to follow a process as outlined in our city charter, and that is what is intended by this. Now, if we need to clarify that language, we'd be happy to amend that to do so, but what we're seeking to do here tonight is get direction from the council to initiate that process, to go to the personnel board, to amend the personnel policies and procedures to include language around these Medicare Advantage plan. That does have to follow a process, as I stated. We don't want to and can't skirt that. The $150,000 to $200,000, that is the city's financial obligation to, in the instance that we've proposed thus far, Blue KC or whomever we ultimately contract with to administer that plan if approved. That would be the estimated financial obligation for the city of purchasing and administering that plan.
And why are we doing it tonight?
Again, we're starting to try to land the budget plane. In having the conversations with a number of the interested parties, in particular in my visits to the Labor Coalition and visiting with some of the representatives from the Stay Well Committee, one of the concerns that I've heard enumerated is a lack of certainty about the future of what our retirement benefit looks like. This would clean up some of that language, specify that language, so that regardless of who's sitting on that dais or in this seat, we are locked in to a certain set of outcomes so that this can't be yanked out from under the feet of current or future retirees.
But this could be part of the budget if we're going to do the post-65 change. That could be part of the budget change at that time, right?
This will take some time to work, so we need to develop the amendment. I would like to work with the stakeholders, again, in particular, the co-chairs of the Stay Well Committee, the Labor Coalition, to have language that generally we all feel comfortable with. And then we have to initiate that process of noticing, I believe it's for 10 days, an intent to convene the personnel board. They'll need time to look at it. They may even want some extra time to look at it. So this is kick-starting that process for which we don't know how long it will take to eventually make its way back to the council for final consideration.
Madam Mayor, I'm not going to support it, but I move for approval of 19751.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins,
No.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. 19. Councilmember DeLucy, 19752.
1970, excuse me, I'm sorry. 19752 is a resolution to create a post-employment advisory committee responsible providing recommendation to the Medicare supplement offerings being offered under our budget. And my question is twofold. First, why are we having a separate committee? And why are we doing it tonight?
Again, as to why we're doing it tonight, we are wrapping up this year's budget process, so it's time to begin to make some decisions about which direction we want to go. The purpose of this resolution is, again, to address another concern that's been laid out to me, and that is some of the retirees that I've had the opportunity to speak with have let me know that they feel that they don't have an adequate voice in this decision-making process. In particular, if we are to move to a Medicare Advantage plan, that would be separate and apart from the Stay Well plan. And so again, trying to address that concern, providing separate representation so that there is a committee with a voice who oversees and administers that Medicare Advantage plan and would help make ongoing decisions around that. Typically, we are able to get contracts. I mean, for example, with our present signal, those usually are 3 to 4 year contracts, and anticipate something similar in that range if the Medicare Advantage plan were implemented. But we need, we've benefited for many years from the wisdom and investment of the Stay Well Committee, and I think that concern that's been brought up is a legitimate one, so this would establish a similar committee for that particular benefit program.
And my concern, Mr. City Manager, is what is the effect on the Stay Well plan if we remove the post-65 retirees?
Right.
And isn't the Stay Well Committee the group in the best position to make that decision? Why would we have a separate committee? Why can't we use the same committee?
Yeah, I was waiting to have a chance to speak. We have, if we have the separate Medicare Advantage plan, we don't have to do this. This is simply to address a concern that was brought to me to provide a voice to the retirees who would be impacted and administered under the Medicare Advantage plan. If the wisdom of the council is we don't want to have that voice and that opportunity for that platform, this has no budgetary impact. It has no bearing on which direction the city goes. It's simply to try to address a concern that was brought to me.
Is there any reason why the Stay Well Committee could not do the same job?
I see no reason.
Okay, thank you. Madam Mayor, again, I'm not going to support this, but I move for approval of 19752.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilman.
So I'm kind of going to throw out some free thinking thought here, so bear with me. Why can't we not just... We have enough retirees, I think they have a voice. If they would like to band together and come and form a committee, perhaps the title Medicare supplement offerings may not be the correct title to offer here. As a committee, perhaps a retired committee, because you have your own special needs and your own special concerns. Could that help calm some of the concerns going into the future, to have a separate committee of retirees to look at health care? No? Okay, I'm free-flowing thought. I'm kind of picking that out here. Okay, so my comments will be concluded, Madam Mayor.
Okay, any other discussion on 19752? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins,
No.
Doherty,
No.
DeLucy,
No.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
No.
Mayor Weir.
No. Resolution fails. Councilman Van Camp, you had
Yes, I'd like to address again the previous motion. I was under the understanding that this, I'm for, and always have been, voting yes to the retirees. I thought this was a promise that they would have this always.
The intent.
It is.
I mean, as I read this, I'm sorry. Thank you, but please. As I read this, it was a promise that they would always have, in case something else gave way, they would always have the right to come back to us to get their insurance.
The resolution that was passed, 19751, gives us direction to go work on developing a amendment to the personnel policies and procedures. My desired outcome with that, my recommendation to this council and to that personnel committee would be to put crystal clear language in that. I cannot tell you how many times I found ambiguous language in personnel policies or administrative policies or city code. Councilmember Doherty just spoke to it on trash service. There's a lot of cleaning up to do. My intent here, whether it's me here or you here or some other fortunate soul here, that we have crystal clear language in there, because the biggest concern I've heard is this is just a two-step bait and switch, that we're going to put people in a waiting room and drop the trap door next year and there'll be no insurance. That is not my intent. That is not my plan. I am putting it... And this would put the language in there crystal clear so that it can't be left without nothing out in the cold.
Okay, given the response, I would like to change my vote. And, please.
You'll need to make a motion to reconsider.
Motion to reconsider my vote.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to reconsider. Is there any discussion? Hearing
If I might, again, this I feel is the right thing. I think it's the right thing. But if we need more discussion on it, that's what we'll do. I want the promise to be made, and I think the clear and precise language is what's needed. But I will do it so that we have more time to talk about it.
Is there any further discussion?
Whatever.
Hearing none, please call the roll on the motion to reconsider.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
No.
Van Camp.
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Will you please reread Resolution 19751?
A resolution directing the city manager to amend Article 6 of the Personnel Policies and Procedures to include post-retirement benefits for those Medicare eligible.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
We'll need a motion to approve.
Oh, we need a motion for approval on 19751.
Motion to approve 1971.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins.
No.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
No.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
No.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, resolution failed. Okay, this moves us to our non-ordinance action item for this evening. Madam City Clerk.
Direction on boundary adjustment between Independence and Sugar Creek in the area of US 24 Highway and Chrysler Avenue.
Okay, is there any discussion on this item?
I've got a question, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
What is the effect of doing this? Why are we doing this? Who wants this?
We had a request that came to us from City of Sugar Creek to annex these properties in. After researching the proposal that was brought forward to us, there is little to no financial gain to the City of Independence. These don't bring in much revenue. They are far out geographically, so they do provide some distress to public safety in terms of response times. So staff is at least willing to be considerate of it. This doesn't lock us into it. It just gives us direction to go research it further and bring a final recommendation to the council. But I didn't want to spend staff time on it unnecessarily if the council wasn't willing to entertain it.
Okay, so what we're doing is giving property to Sugar Creek, right?
That would be the ultimate outcome. Tonight's action would give staff direction to continue working on researching it and providing a final recommendation to the city council.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman.
Thank you. Councilwoman, I was approached by Mayor Larson some months ago talking about these particular properties. It just made more sense the way the borderline of Sugar Creek and Independence was kind of jockeying through there. They're virtually all in Sugar Creek anyway, except for 3 to 4 houses on each street that we're looking to designate into Sugar Creek. So for our personnel, safety personnel, police, fire, to make those calls if those calls for service were needed, was just cumbersome. This just makes more sense, and there's really no to any financial impact.
Thank you.
You bet.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll on this item.
You'll need a motion to approve that item too.
Do we need a motion to approve?
Move to approve it, Mayor.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, item passes. This takes us to our second readings. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 19030, an ordinance approving the 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan for Program Year 45, Annual Action Plan for the CDBG and Home Programs, authorizing applications to the Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD for the Community Development Block Grant CDBG Program Year 45 and the Home Investment Partnerships Act Home Program Year 25, authorizing execution of a written agreement and acceptance of CDBG and home program funds under the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 and making the necessary appropriations. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, ordinance passes.
Bill number 19031, an ordinance prohibiting the city from installing advanced metering infrastructure, AMI, entering into a contract for the purposes of installing AMI, and voiding any contracts entered into as a result of the approval of non-ordinance action item number 2, approved on April 1st, 2019. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Doherty.
No.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, ordinance passes. Okay, this takes us to our first readings. These will have their first reading this evening and their second reading and vote by the council on June the 17th. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 19032, an ordinance amending the zoning district map as to a tract of land located at 1026 East 23rd Street from District R12, two-family residential, to District C2, general commercial, in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. Bill number 19033, an ordinance amending the zoning district map as to tracts of ground located at 15804 East Cogan Lane and 15803 East US 24 Highway from District R6, single-family residential, District R18 PUD, moderate density residential planned unit development, and District C2 general commercial, to District R6 single-family residential, and District C3 service commercial, in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. Bill number 19034, an ordinance amending.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilman.
I would like to have an opportunity for the council to have a discussion at one of our study sessions on this. I believe there's a few things that we need to look at. We haven't discussed it. This is the first reading, I realize that. This medical marijuana ordinance is based on what just recently passed the state legislature. my understanding is that that won't be finalized with the state until sometime in August. So we have some time, and I would like to move to postpone the first reading of this till July 1st so that we can have a study session perhaps the following week.
Okay.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to postpone ordinance 1903, bill number 19034 till July 1st. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Motion passes.
Bill number 19035, an ordinance adopting the annual operating and capital budgets of the City of Independence, Missouri for the fiscal year July 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, estimating the revenues for said fiscal year, appropriating sums for the purposes stated in said budget, establishing operating transfers, designating fund balance allocations, establishing the authorized table of organization, and designating those who may make a requisition for encumbrances against appropriations.
Okay, this concludes our first readings. This takes us to council member comments. I'll start on my left with Councilman Van Camp.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing tonight.
Councilman Robertson.
Thank you, Mayor. Along with all the speeches tonight and the discussion about the options with Medicare health coverage, I have asked the city manager for us to have the only focus of our study session next week in and around the Medicare supplement issue. I've also asked that we would have representatives from Cigna as well as Blue Cross Blue Shield here, and I assume we'll have somebody from Lockton here as well. So I'd like us to be able to ask and get figures, the actual figures that people pay, not just for the monthly premium, but for deductibles, co-pays, the office visits, lab tests, prescription drugs, vision care. I want to know what everybody is paying now under Cigna, and I want to know what they would be paying. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and sometimes things are not what they seem to be. So I want the figures, I want the facts, and that's what I'm looking for next week at our study session. So I want to invite you to come back or watch online or watch on Channel 7. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember DeLucy.
I'm confused. Did we do the budget amendments?
We did not vote on those tonight.
Okay, so we're just introducing them to let us know they are now part of your budget?
That those are, well, they would have to be voted in favor of by the council to include them as part of the budget, but they have been, the budget that we submitted has to reflect the one that was presented on May 13th.
Okay.
As we've said, there's a number of recommendations that we're altering now, and so this reflects those, and then some of the corresponding financial moves that need to be made as a result of that.
And so for my reading enjoyment, when I'm reading that book, I should go ahead and put these numbers in the book.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're working on now.
You got it.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Huff.
I have nothing this evening.
Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilwoman, we do have time to review and make adjustments next, 2 weeks from Monday on this. But nothing from me tonight, Mayor.
Councilmember Doherty.
Thank you. Made suggestions, we get a list of all the ordinances where we've capped payday loans, discount smoke, tattoos, trash haulers, firecracker stands, so forth. Put it all under one list that we can find it readily, because they've had to hunt through several different things to find all these, and that way we can get them on there, know how many we've got and how many we don't have, and so forth.
Solid recommendation and long overdue.
All right, easy to find. Thanks.
Anything else this evening, Mr. City Manager?
No, thank you.
We're adjourned.